easy go.
Welcome back, Brocasters. Well, for the second time this season, the Bucs took a loss. This time it was at the hands of division rival Saints. I welcome back my Brocasters, Zach, Bryce, and John. How you guys doing?
Good, man. All things considered.
Feeling good this week, man. Absolutely.
Doing all right, man. I've come to grips with what happened on Sunday. I don't know what it is with the Saints, but hey, 6-2 at the bye. It's what I predicted.
I will die not understanding what happened in that game. I will never come to grips with what we saw.
There's no redeeming qualities of it. There's nothing you can look back on and be like, yeah, we really crushed that segment. And, we just looked bad. We looked bad overall. Brady looked bad. Defense looked bad. Offense looked bad. And that's bad. You know what I mean? We looked like a bad team, and we know we're not a bad team, so it's hard to wrap our minds around that. It's a game we should have won. Anytime a team goes to essentially their third string quarterback, you expect to beat that team. You should beat them. And when you let them march up and down the field on you, there's just nothing to feel good about.
Yeah, really nothing to feel good about. So we're going to jump into the game review now, guys. And it was supposed to be like a changing of the guards, right? We were supposed to usher in this new Bucs era of dominance in the NFC South with Drew Brees retiring and the new look Saints. Here we are again, losing another regular season game to them. How did we feel after this loss?
I feel like I was cheated because I was supposed to get Jameis. And, Jameis, tapped out. I guess they're saying it was an ACL. I don't know. Maybe he quit. And I feel like I was jobbed. I'm supposed to watch Jameis throw 3 picks. I'm supposed to see him snatch defeat out of whatever, the Jaws of Victory or whatever. Man, we didn't get to see it. So I'm just very disappointed that Jameis is a quitter like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game to watch. It wasn't all bad. I mean, we still were able to move the ball up and down the field a decent amount, I will say. Tom Brady did look mortal this game. He had some pretty bad throws on those interceptions. Honestly, the team just kind of looked flat. I think we got a little bit in our heads about, hey, first Bucs team to ever go 6-1. We've been pretty much, romping through everybody. Last game was a total beatdown. Everybody felt a little good about themselves, and I think they bought into that, story of, hey, Saints don't have Drew Brees anymore. They're not who they used to be, right? Like, we don't have to take this team. They're not the team we gotta worry about. They gotta worry about us. Well, you're gonna get everybody's best shot when you're the Super Bowl champs, and of course, the division rival, the Saints ain't gonna want to give up their crown of the NFC South. So the Saints came out and the defense was ready to play. Even Jameis, for a while there, he looked like Lamar Jackson running around getting first downs. And I mean, we could not contain him until until Devin White decided to injure his ACL and take him out of the game. And then lo and behold, Trevor Siemian, and I don't know what it is with backup quarterbacks against the Bucs, but he did well. I mean, the other thing, too, I thought was it bit us again is the penalties, man. Some of them were ticky-tacky. I mean, that one on Devin White there that kept that drive going. I think both, right? I mean, the Jameis horse collar and then the roughing the passer calls were pretty ticky-tacky. But nonetheless, I mean, too many penalties, and you're not going to win many games when you commit that many penalties, especially in time, One took an interception off the board. I think that would have, stopped 3 points. Another one kept the drive alive for the Saints. So that's 6 points right there. So overall, I mean, it's probably good in a sense that I think this team can go into the bye knowing we got things to work on. We have things that we need to address if we're going to go back to where we want to be, and that's in Los Angeles in February. But overall, yeah, I mean, it was not the performance we were hoping for, obviously. And it's something that Tom Brady's gonna have to figure out how to play the Saints defense. I don't know, everybody else, he's Tom Brady, but against the Saints, he seems to turn into a little bit, like I said, a little, that's his Achilles heel. He's a little mortal against them.
Well, a lot of that is the fact that we abandoned the run game. This was one of our worst rushing performances of the season. The other one being the Rams game, which we also lost. I mean, we only had 70 yards rushing, and that's just not going to cut it against a team that's going to play us like that. I mean, they had our receivers locked down. We know they know how to take away Mike Evans. That we were missing AB and Gronk. Like the fact that we abandoned the run game in what at times was a one-score game, it's just unacceptable to me. And that falls on Brady's shoulders. I can't blame the coaches at all. We watched Brady more than once just shake off the sideline and say, no, I'm going to call my own play. And even in that final drive to throw the interception to end the game, very reminiscent of Jameis Winston. I mean, Brady made that call. That Brady dialed that play up. He wanted that play, and it was the wrong call. I mean, he just threw it right to the cornerback. I mean, there was nothing anybody else could have done. And I think Brady got into his own head more than anybody else. And that's going to cost us. And I think sometimes we have to take the ball out of his hands and establish the run game a little bit, because you can see in games where we put it all on Brady, where he thinks he needs to go out and be the GOAT. This happens. This can still happen. And when we lose that balance, he's just this game cost us. And I think Brady cost us this game with his decision making.
I think there also needs to be some blame on Todd Bowles. That Simeon comes in and we just keep blitzing him, and he's just going to the first read that's open because there's a blitz. Like it was like watching someone just do the same thing over and over again incorrectly and just not learning from it. It was frustrating to watch. We held Kamara in check. I would say 60 yards rushing and like 15 receiving. I mean, he was not really a factor. Simeon just beat us on blitzes. Every time we blitzed, someone's open. When he blitzed, he found them. When we drop back into coverage, those were our best defensive possessions. They would have 3 and outs. We just send 4 guys, sit back in coverage. He can't diagnose the coverage, but he can see an open receiver when he's being blitzed. So I think Bowles also has some share of the blame there. That was so frustrating to watch Simeon just pick up a blitz and find guys downfield. It was really hard to watch because he is not a good quarterback at all. Third string, like John said, he is just not. He should not be doing that to you. And you just have to be able to be flexible and pivot. If the one thing you're doing isn't working, just try something else.
And you raise a valid point there, Zach. I'm not sure what Todd Bowles has been doing over the past few weeks, because we've given up more yards on the ground in the last 3 weeks than we did through the last, I believe, 8 games prior to that, or 9 games prior to that combined. We're giving up a lot of yards, and that's starting to be what teams are going to do against us, and it's exposing us. And we're going to have to get a handle on that. I don't know if that's because we don't trust the secondary or what it is, but you're right. We brought the house and tried to blitz that kid, and I mean, he just made us pay for it. And we need to be better about that going forward, because we do have what looks like easy games on the schedule. You've got Washington and the Giants and the Colts and and the Panthers and the Jets, and those are all games where you expect to win. But if you can't stop a quarterback like Trevor Simeon, then I have to change my prediction for the season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those rushing totals, right, have to do with the fact that you're dealing with some mobile quarterbacks. And if you don't get home on blitzes and you don't contain, they're gonna run for some big chunk yards. I think the problem is we're not getting home, as Zach said, on those blitz packages. You get home, you get the sack. Even if Trevor or even if Simeon were to make the first read, if you can't get the ball off in time, it's a non-factor. So I don't know what's going on with the blitz packages. I don't know if teams have kind of figured out what what Bowles is drawing up, but at least he's got the bye week to kind of figure something out as we go into our back half of the schedule.
Can we delete the late pass rush from the game of football? Like the late linebacker or secondary player that decides to rush like a second after the ball is snapped is just the stupidest thing. Everybody does it. We're not the only one who does it. But when you're not getting home and you're pulling someone out of the second or third level late too, it's just like the quarterback gets the ball. All of a sudden someone starts coming. It's like, well, I guess I know where someone isn't. because
Yeah,
that guy
right?
came,
Yeah.
like, it's so frustrating to watch. The blitz packages are too predictable, I guess. I don't know, or they're not. I mean, yeah, perhaps they're just not getting home. I don't know if it's technique, if it's scheme, if guys aren't blitzing in the right area, but yeah, it's just a waste now. It's sending all those guys in because you're not getting home and they're just picking us apart, you know.
Yeah, I think you're all right, really. I think there are just a lot of factors. We're not getting home. Uh, we're not going to the run game. We're abandoning the run game. There's just a lot of factors, a lot of penalties. There were, I think, 3 turnovers on Tom Brady alone, whereas we didn't force one. We had one, but one was called back for a penalty. I think the word of the day, and Zach hit it, was frustrating. As close as the score was for that game, that was just a frustrating game to watch as a Bucs fan. That game should have been won, and for some reason we decided we didn't want to play up to our standard, whether that be turnovers, penalties, blitz packaging, not adjusting to what quarterback's in the game. We just didn't do the things to win the game, and that's the result you're going to get.
On the subject of that interception that was lost, I don't know how hard it is for a referee in the NFL, because this game was an example of ineptitude. But unless it's just so challenging, like if it's just harder to see on the field, or if there's some kind of effect I'm not aware of. But that Golson, right, is the one who gets called for that late hit on the interception in the end zone. He's being held like no one else has ever been held. Like his helmet gets ripped off.
That was clear hands to the face.
It's like illegal hands to the face.
Yeah.
Needs to be called
He
on
has
that,
no
for
idea
sure.
where he is or where the ball is because his eyes are not even on his head anymore. They've been ripped off. And then he sees a Saints jersey and bumps the guy. Doesn't even like murder him. He just bumps him. That's just at worst, it should have been offsetting. But to just call it like that was just wild. There are a lot of bad calls in this game. So frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement to say that this game definitely left a sour taste in your mouth going into the bye. But as we look forward here now, we see that we're starting to get to that point of the season where teams are starting to define themselves. They're either going to be in the playoffs or they're rebuilding. So as we look ahead into the schedules of those teams that might be in the NFC playoff mix, Bryce, who do you see getting that number 1 seed that's so coveted now with the new 17 playoffs?
Yeah, I know. It's interesting you said that because it does leave a sour taste as we go into the bye week. But and I think it has to do with the fact that it was the Saints we lost to. But we do sit here at 6-2 going into week 9, right? I mean, that's sitting pretty good. We're on top of the NFC South. I think if you look overall, we've met our goals for that first part of the season, right? So going into week 9, as I said, the Bucs currently sit atop the NFC South at 6-2, and obviously New Orleans is a close second at 5-2, and unfortunately they currently hold the tiebreaker over the Bucs, given their victory last Sunday. But fortunately, we get to play them again at home later in the season. So let's take a picture right now of where the playoffs are. If they were to start today, this would be the picture in the NFC. So the 1 seed, that coveted first, that first seed with the first round bye and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, would be the Green Bay Packers at 7-1, who currently hold the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Arizona Cardinals, who are also 7-1. The Cardinals own the tiebreaker over the Rams, who are also 7-1 due to their head-to-head win against them earlier in the season. So they would be the 2nd seed and would host the 7th seed Carolina Panthers at 4-4 in the wild card round. The 3rd seed would be the Dallas Cowboys at 6-1, and they would host the New Orleans Saints. And finally, the 4th seed would be us Buccaneers at 6-2, and we would get to host the Rams at home in that wild card round. So as you can see, the Bucs are going to need some help to win a fair share of their remaining games if they want to secure that number 1 seed come season's end. Fortunately, there's a pretty clear path and not all that hard one to achieve. First and foremost, the Bucs will need to win the majority of their remaining games to stay in contention for that 1 seed. Last year, the Packers were the 1 seed at 13-3. So let's say the number 1 seed for this year can only lose 3 games to finish at 14-3. Obviously, that means the Bucs can only afford to lose one more game the rest of the way. Possible? Yes. But winning 8 out of 9 games is going to be tough. The good news is out of all the NFC contenders, and this I'm including the Bucs, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Rams, and the Saints, the Bucs have the easiest remaining schedule when looking at the remaining opponent's winning percentage, as John had mentioned earlier. And it's at, just it's under 500. It's at 44, basically 44%, if you will, 0.440. So they only play 4 teams remaining over 500 the rest of the way. 2 of those games are the 2 of the last 3 against the 4-4 Panthers, and 3 of those 4 games are at home, and the other 2 being against the Bills and the Saints. The Rams and the Saints have the most difficult remaining schedule, and the Cowboys still have 5 games remaining against teams over 500. The Cardinals and Packers have tougher schedules than the Bucs as well, but their remaining opponents' combined winning percentage is also below 500, though those numbers are a bit skewed because both play the winless Lions. So we also have to consider tiebreakers when evaluating their path to the 1 seed. And unfortunately, the losses to both the Rams and the Saints hurts the Bucs on that front. But a win against the Cowboys opening night helps. And a lot of contenders still have to play each other. The Rams play both the Packers and Cardinals, and the Cowboys play both the Saints and Cardinals. And when evaluating the remaining out-of-conference opponents, the Bucs clearly hold an advantage over a team like Green Bay, as they play the Colts and Jets in the AFC, while Green Bay plays the Ravens and the Browns. We also have to consider injuries and any potential COVID cases, as the Saints have lost Jameis Winston for the year. Kyler Murray was injured in their last game, and Green Bay, well, let's just say their COVID protocols may be in jeopardy. Waka waka. Evaluating the NFC landscape, I really see 3 teams that have a good shot at the 1 seed: the Bucs, the Cowboys, and the Rams. As we discussed, the Bucs own the tiebreaker of the Cowboys going forward, but lose that tiebreaker to the Rams. And the Rams made a play to strengthen their roster by adding Von Miller at the trade deadline. And I'm just wondering, should the Rams or their fans show up for the draft come May? I think they've given up all their draft capital for the next 2 years. But as we mentioned before, the Rams have the most difficult schedule remaining out of all the contenders. And 4 out of 5 of the next opponents the Cowboys play are above 500. So all that bodes well for the Bucs' quest for that 1 seed. So really, the Bucs just need to take care of business against the teams they should beat and win at least one of the games at home against the Bills or the Saints. I prefer the Saints, but just win 1. So if they do that, I think it'll be a nice, short, and warm path back to the Super Bowl come January.
Yeah, still a lot to be decided in the NFC, but it does look like a good bet that the Bucs are going to stick around and hopefully vie for that 1st seed. Speaking of bets, we've got Bucs bets now. Zach, I want to go back and see how did we do on our last week.
I don't want to talk about it.
No.
It didn't go well. So we're just going to wipe that. I mean, we went from a 3-0 to a 0-3. Honestly, I've even forgotten the bets. They were so bad in the end. I wiped that from my memory.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks where you just let it be for sure.
Yep. Like
so I know
said, the goldfish. So
I gotcha. Yeah, so I know we don't have a game to bet on this week, but are you looking around the league now that I think sports betting is legal in Florida? So
yes, rejoice! The Lord has come. We have legal sports betting on your phone, mobile device, whatever. You can log on and tail buck bets. So this is not gambling advice, but you can tail us if you'd like. And speaking of winning the conference, the Bucs actually are the favorite right now in the Florida sportsbook at plus 300 to win the NFC. So it's there if you want to put some units on it. Yeah. So this week it's ironic, we have the first week where it's like wide open. Everybody can go on, bet on the Bucs in the state of Florida, but there's no game. So we're just going to have to look elsewhere. I've decided actually to still stick on theme. Florida has sports betting now. So there are 2 other teams in Florida, the Dolphins and the Jaguars. They play this weekend. So looking at their matchups, The Jaguars, they play the Bills, so it's not a juicy matchup, but we're gonna find our spots. So, and the Dolphins play the Texans, so a little bit nicer there. For our two main card bets, we're going to look at Jags over 16.5 total points. Just let's hope that they can score 3 times. And then for the Dolphins and Texans, we're going to do Houston under 19.5 for the game. They are terrible. And I think there's a chance for that to hit. So those are our two main cards. And then for our lock of the week, we're going to do a teaser. So we're going to take two numbers and we're going to combine them and then kind of juice the numbers. So a little teaser on the overs for the two Florida teams that are playing this weekend. So we have a 6-point teaser. So Texans, Dolphins over 40 and Jags, Buffalo over 42.5. Those are teased together at -130. So pretty low numbers to hit, 40 and 42.5, pretty attainable. So we'll put that in the lock. We'll see how we do. Anything's better than last week.
Yeah, how confident do you feel on those?
I mean, candidly, I wish the Jags weren't playing the Bills, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So we're gonna pick our spots. They're getting a lot of points. I think the spread's like double digits, but still gonna just admit that the Jags are not good and Urban Meyer's head is elsewhere. So we're just gonna hope that they can score a couple tutties and a field goal, some garbage time points maybe. And the Texans one I don't feel that bad about. Texans to score fewer than 20 points. I think that's pretty attainable. The Dolphins, I think, they've just had bad luck this year. They've had a couple close games they couldn't win. So I think they're a little better than their record might show.
Well, as we look to the second half of our season, I know we've been seeing some players go down, and we used to see some players that we haven't seen in a while. So I wanted to bring John in here. John, I wanted to ask, who have you been jonesing to see play for the second half of the season?
The two people specifically that I'm going to mention that I've been dying to see, jonesing to see in the second half of this season, is going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis. You guys would know them as the dynamic duo, our outside corners. They are what help make our defense click. Both have been on IR for quite some time now. Both have now been designated to return as of today. So we expect to see them after the bye week. And as we were talking about earlier, I really think that those two individuals are going to help our front seven get home and get more sacks, because they're going to cover up some of those easy routes that these crappy quarterbacks have been picking us apart with. There's always guys like Antonio Brown, who just a few days ago was in a boot on crutches, not looking good, questionable return from his foot injury. I did see on Instagram today that he was pounding around with Drake in the mall. No crutches, no boot. So I'm really hoping that bodes well for his comeback after the bye week as well. And then the star of the show last year in the NFC Championship, Scotty Miller, has also been designated for return from injured reserve this week. So a lot of names that we need, a lot of guys that we need back on the team are starting to come around and come back. I know we saw Gronkowski last week, but he did end up leaving the game with some back spasms. And those are all good things to see. You got to see these guys start to come back. I know we all like to see, we signed Richard Sherman, even though he really hasn't done anything. Or, we went out and got such and such. We knew at the trade deadline that we didn't have to make a big splash, knowing that we've got these guys coming back. And that's such a good thing to see. And, and then we've got players who, have been on the roster all season and haven't done anything. We've got individuals like, I keep saying that OJ Howard is still on the team for some reason. He did not go away at the trade deadline. He has as many touchdowns this season as Cyril Grayson. That's the kind of stuff that OJ Howard is putting up for this team, when he could have easily been a cornerback or a draft pick or a water cooler. He could have literally been anything helpful to the team, but instead he's out there dropping passes. Justin Watson also looking to come back this week. Another great option to replace OJ Howard. Can't wait to see him get on the field as well. And yeah, I see Bryce's eyes getting wide. I understand one's tight end, one's a receiver, but one can also catch the ball. You know, Ronald Jones isn't getting as much love this season either. He's got about a third as many attempts as Leonard Fournette, despite the fact that all of his runs are longer than Leonard Fournette's. His average is longer. His receptions and routes are longer, and he's dropped less passes. But, you know, it is what it is, like they say, and coaches make those decisions. But truly, if you're looking for some names to get back into it, I think this bye week, it's going to be a tough one with no football because I don't watch when the Bucs don't play. But when they come back, you should see more of those familiar faces from the Super Bowl run.
Man, how could you not? You missed the Jones in for Jones, man. You know, like right there for you.
You ain't got to tell me, bro. I put the jersey on every week, and the man don't get the ball, bro. It's a whole thing. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like we got a lot of stuff left in the cupboard in terms of our team roster. I know we are dying to get those corners back in the secondary. So all good picks, John. I think we're all looking forward to seeing them on the field. So I wanted to end the episode with a little bit of fun and I know we like every week to pick a fantasy player. And I wanted to do a little bit of a mid-season report card of what everybody's got. So in terms of total points, John is killing all of us. He's at 113 points total. Bryce is at 90. Zach, you and I are really not doing well.
If you're anywhere near me, that's embarrassing for you because
I'm at
guys that don't play.
57 and you're at 31.
That sounds right.
Where was John?
113.
Woo!
Okay, so that's good. The high watermark, John had the best game, which was Mike Evans, 31.6 points in week 7 with a 3-touchdown game against the Bears. He actually has the top 3 performances of the year. He has the top 3 picks, all occurring in the past 3 weeks, week 6, 7, and 8. So very good, John. There is a little bit of luck to this. So I did a little bit of a luck factor. I wanted to compare the total points to the projected points. Zach, Bryce, and I are all around the middling range. Zach is the unluckiest. He's getting about 3/4 of the projections. I myself am at like 4/5. Bryce, you're about 90%, 9/10. John is at a whopping double his projection points. He's literally doubling up on the projection.
You need to get some player prop bets going in, man.
Yeah, man. For real. I just throwing them out there, man. Calls them out as I sees them.
So I also, in doing this research, have one more stat. John has literally picked first every single week.
Oh, that's crazy. There's no correlation there.
There you go.
He's picked first every single week. So we might have to put some sanctions on John picking first for the rest of the year.
Sounds like you could skip a week and he'd be fine.
Yes. Yeah, he's doing very well. I do want to say, I
say he picks first every episode going forward.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll.
Yeah, on a roll.
Yeah, feed me. I do want to say, if you guys have any, I know we don't have any fantasy players on the Bucs to pick, but if you guys have any fantasy players you want all of our viewers to look at, I know they play fantasy, so if you have a fantasy player.
Michael Pittman Jr. Bucs fans will remember his dad as the man with the godly biceps, Hercules. Michael Pittman Jr., I picked him up. Nobody in my league had him. I picked him up a couple of weeks ago, and he has boomed every single week. I believe he had 30-some points last week, 20-some points the week before. He's playing on that Colts offense where there isn't a lot of weapons, and he's become a bit of a security blanket for Carson Wentz, and he looks great. I remember, last week where he had 3 receptions in the first half, 2 touchdowns. Like that's a fun game to watch. He's a good flex, or if you need just like a off week wide receiver, that's a great pick. Nobody in your league will have him. I guarantee it.
Yeah, speaking of the bye week, right? I know a lot of our viewers may have Tom Brady as their starting quarterback. Well, can't play him this week. So who do you play? I'm saying with the news today that Rodgers is going to be out against the Chiefs, if he's available, pick up Jordan Love. The Chiefs probably have one of the worst defenses in all the league. And I don't know if there's a quarterback that hasn't produced a decent amount of fantasy points playing them this season. I think he's going to come out, have a good game, strong game, going to give Rodgers something to consider next season, or the Packers for that matter. Especially if Rodgers decides he doesn't ever want to get vaccinated. That might be someone you look for to fill in that gap this fantasy week while Brady's riding the bench.
I mentioned earlier, the Bengals is like a big matchup, so they're playing the Browns and they need to win that division. And Burrow, Jamar Chase, I think they're both gonna have big games. I'll go Jamar Chase would be the guy. You should already be starting him. He's, I think, the best receiver in football and fantasy. So, but I assume he'll have a great game as well.
Yeah, those are all I guess not Jordan Love, but the other two are definitely bona fide starters. I'm gonna go
factor into our season's total going forward.
Yeah, I'll put it in. Sure. I'm gonna go with a little different route in a flex. So somebody who may not be in all of the leagues, but he might be owned in most. I'm gonna say Hunter Renfrow in this one, with the news that Henry Ruggs is now departed from the Raiders. I feel like Derek Carr is going to give Hunter Renfrow a few more looks, and he already gets quite a bit of volume from him. So in a PPR league, I'm looking for him to get quite a few receptions and earn quite a few points. I think that's a good flex start if you're looking for a third or possibly fourth wide receiver, if you have those leagues.
If we're doing diamonds in the rough, I really like Van Jefferson moving forward with Djax getting cut. I just think he'll have a nice little, if you have like a gap and there's someone you need to pick up on the fly, he should be available in leagues. And then Ryan, you mentioned that white kid, but there's also that guy Edwards I think Brian Edwards, the South Carolina product of the Raiders. So I think both those guys they'll be buoyed by what happened with Ruggs.
Yeah, if Saquon's out, by the way, this week, if he doesn't come back, Booker for the Giants is a good play as well.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on this episode. We hope you enjoy the bye week. Get your NFL in, or if you'd like to take the weekend off, just go ahead and do that. We look forward to you guys sticking with us. Make sure you hit subscribe and like. It really helps us out and know that we're doing a good job. And as we always like to sign off, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs and Jags offense and Dolphins defense.
All right.
Also, Tom Brady, if you're watching, I also would enjoy a signed jersey, signed helmet. I can give a Rondé Barber signed ball back to you in exchange if that will work out.
I think he does regularly watch this, so